彼がいるのですよ。ザラトゥストラが。
Chapter 2. Xenophobia. What? What? Why is it called what? Yay. Suwahara City serial decapitation murder case death toll rises to 7. What? How much time has passed? On December 4th, around 6:30 a.m., an employee of a diner located on Suwahara City Bypass discovered a local salaryman, Masayuki Shibutani, 28, and his friend and co-worker Mitsunori Oda, 28, collapsed in the diner parking lot. He notified the police. As both victims were decapitated, the Suwahara City Police Department has ruled this work of the serial killer currently terrorizing Suwahara City. The police have issued a statement expressing their continued intent to pursue the investigation. Additionally, it seems as if the killings so far have been initiated at random, as investigators have been unable to identify any shared traits among the victims. A modern-day Jack the Ripper, the shadow of fear covering Suwahara City. Ongoing Suwahara City serial murder case that started on December 1st has claimed 7 victims, so it's only been 30 days! A crime of this scale and level of depravity is unheard of in post-war Japan. Though the criminal's MO resembles that of a prototypical serial killer frequently seen in Western society, experts' opinions remain divided as the victims' bodies show no signs of sexual mutilation. Chaos in the streets. Suwahara City shooting incident. On December 2nd, around 1 p.m., a scuffle broke out amongst several boys in Maruyamachi, the city's largest downtown district. Officer Takao Oda, 31, was shot by one of the youth involved upon arriving at the scene. Officer Oda survived the incident, but is currently hospitalized. Criminal acts by juveniles have been on the rise in Suwahara City over the past few months. It would behoove the police to investigate the weapon employed in this incident and its mean of acquisition. Didn't take me long to get my fill of news for the day. Teachers had given up on trying to teach today, abandoning most classes and telling us to study on their own. This provided the perfect opportunity for me to skip out on the roof. But the faculty was probably in the midst of a heated debate right about now. In other words, they were most likely discussing whether or not to close the school until the serial case murder blew over. It wasn't hard to imagine that they were getting complaints from parents left and right, and it's not like the students themselves felt much differently. Today, we were looking at less than 70% attendance rate. We were past the point where you could just ignore things and carry teaching classes. And of course, none of the students actually attending were interested in the whole self-study idea. Classrooms were a little more than an offline stage for the sort of debates people were having about the subject on message boards. Considering how many people were getting fed up with the whole thing and just heading home entirely, I was a model student by comparison. You jammed a bunch of teenagers on edge into a box all day like this, and something was gonna give immediately, or eventually. I really would have preferred to hit the road myself before any trouble arose, but I'd never hear the end of it from Kasumi, so I decided to just escape to the roof instead. Though, to be honest, there was another, more pressing reason I had for wanting to be alone. I sighed and slunk down against the water tower. I'd been having the same dream every night now, the same developments every time, culminating in my decapitation by a guillotine. And every time I woke up from it, there had been a report of a new murder in the city. Still couldn't figure out who that girl was. Even though we'd never had anything resembling conversation, I couldn't get those plaintive eyes and that song of hers out of my head. The guillotine, the girl, my decapitated head rolling on the ground, bloody bodies with their heads severed. Couldn't help feeling that this was some sort of vicious cycle. My dreams invading reality and reality turned with my dreams invading reality and reality in turn affecting my dreams, growing worse by the day. Why was this happening? I couldn't think of 3 hypotheses that seemed plausible. Because, you know, I'm a detective and all. For one, it was all just a coincidence. Random noise that only seemed to be forming a pattern. This was the most realistic answer. Number 2, I had psychic powers and my dreams were prophetic. I could predict the deaths of those around me. Such people did exist according to my knowledge. What the fuck? What kind of people are those? Number 3, the sort of cliche plot you see in mystery novels and the like. In other words, this is an anime visual novel. I'm the murderer?
するわけないだろ。
I banged my head against the water tower in an attempt to stave off the line of thought. Murder was, by definition, a destructive act. There was nothing to be gained from going around killing other people. I tried to force myself to think about it from a rational standpoint. All that had happened was a few strangers dying, right? I wasn't the sort of guy to get worked up over something so trivial. My thoughts threatened to get away from me and spiral into an endless pit unless I kept repeating that with enough conviction to piss even myself off. I couldn't afford to be concerned with the morality of my outlook on the situation. Continuing to fret about things would just dig me a deeper hole. If I wanted to convince myself that I was a normal person, then ignoring all this shit was my best course of action. Not that a normal person would react like that to a current situation, of course. Suddenly, the bell rang, interrupting my little reverie. It seemed that the 4th period had already ended. If the faculty ended up deciding to close the school after all, the whole day's class would likely end now. There would probably be a school-wide broadcast soon enough. Sure enough, a voice emerged from the intercom about 5 minutes later. The contents of the broadcast, however, were not what I had expected. I couldn't believe my ears at first, but I suppose it was an understandable supposition. Adults really have it hard. Another 5 minutes passed. I lay down on the ground and stretched out.
はあ、やっぱりここにいたよ。
Hey, Kasumi. Much like the school broadcast, I had expected this to occur, but not to play out exactly in the way it did.
あのさ、私前々から思ってたんだけど、あんた学校嫌いでしょ。
Fannies! Kasumi stared down at me with an exasperated look on her face.
藤井くんが嫌いなのは面倒なこと、小言とかそういうの全般。
But what got me was that Himuro was there with her, her tongue as pointed as ever. I looked up at the two of them, scratching my head. Well then.
青、白。
あ？ん？
見えてるぞ、角度的に。
ああ。
I zoomed in with my phone's camera, driven by a sense of duty. Why would you take...
エッチ。何してんのよ、このド変態！
Himuro had the ladylike decency to cover herself, but Kasumi gave me even more of an eyeful as she launched a kick directly at my face, which I dodged neatly.
寝てるやつの前で仁王立ちなんかする方が悪いんだよ。
だからって、あんた。
No, it doesn't make it okay to take a picture of it. That's right, Kasumi. You tell him. Kept mumbling unintelligibly. Oh my god. Kept mumbling unintelligibly. I could only make out a few words here and there, like you didn't need to report on the colors.
ほら、これあげるから機嫌直しなさい、青色さん。いや、その。
キャラメル1個で買収されるなよ。安い青色だな。
失礼ね。 安くなんかないもん。こら、藤井くんもからかわない。青色さんも落ち着いて。
I should call Miss Blue now.
その先輩、嫌がらせですか。
Yup.
ん？何のことかな、藤井くん。
Oh boy.
さあ、とりあえず空のように広い心を持ってほしいんですけどね。
青色だしね。
Oh boy.
そうですね。
How talented! Miss Blue managed to plaster a smile on her face even as her temples twitched. How talented.
ま、そんなどうでもいいことは置いといて。
どうでもいいこと？ラメ入りとかスケスケとか、秘密の小窓付きとかだったら、どうでもよくないかもしれないけど。
Whoa.
受けが欲しかったら、もっと精進しなさいね。
You gotta think big to win big. No. Himuro laid her hand on Kasumi's shoulder, a fascinating method of resolving this situation to be sure, but effective in the sense that it made the other party feel like washing their hands of the whole thing.
もういい。なんだか疲れてきた。
Actually, me too. Not because of this, but mainly because I can't go to sleep.
体張らなきゃ人気者になれないよ。なんで私がパンツの種類で人気取らなきゃならないんですか？あとそこの盗撮魔、今すぐデータを抹消しなさい。怖いね。
おっかないですね。
もうなんなのよこいつら。
I like Ray. You could see that this would only end up going in circles, so I decided to let Kasumi off the hook for now. After that, Kasumi confiscated my phone and deleted all the data on it in a record of 2 to 3 minutes.
さっきの放送、休校はないって言ってたけど。
Could imagine the students were all too pleased with the broadcast earlier. That was probably the reason why Kasumi and Himuro came up here looking for me too.
まさか、一緒に講義しに行こうとか言わないよな。
言わないわよ。先生がそう決めたんだし、反抗なんかしませんです。
Could at least try looking like she meant it.
私はただ、あんたが午後の授業もサボらないよう見張りに来ただけ。
先輩も？
私はご飯を食べに来ただけ。
I like Ray. Himuro began to dig through her infinite supply of sandwiches. Where exactly did that pocket lead to anyway?
食べる？
Yes.
くれるなら。
Yes.
綾瀬さんは？
Take it.
じゃあ、私も。
Good. You're good friends eating sandwiches together on the roof. While murders are happening in the last 3 days. Kasumi and I each took sandwiches from Himuro. Our smiles were just a bit strained.
仲良し3人組。
Yay! Now that was a fanciful interpretation.
けど、なんでまたこの状況で休校しないんだろうな。どう思う？
子供じゃないんだしってことじゃない？これが原因で引きこもりが増えても困るだろうし。
It's a small town. It shouldn't really matter. It'd probably affect them more, to be honest. We sat in a row on the bench and discussed current events while eating. Himuro and Kasumi were sitting on either side of me, boxing me in. How'd we end up in this arrangement exactly?
でも、これで生徒から犠牲者が出たら、きっとただじゃ済まなくなるね。
That's true. They'd have to shut down the school.
例えば？
責任問題。学園長の首もバッサリ。
Yup. Himuro made a neck-chopping gesture. Nice. Great. I wonder what Ren thinks about that one.
土曜日に生徒が殺された大学。あそこは休校になったらしいよ。懸命だね。身近に誰か一人でも犠牲が出ないと。日本人は目が覚めないようになってるのかな。ちょっと病気。
I don't think it applies to just the Japanese. I'm pretty sure it applies everywhere.
ああ、そういや先輩、クォーターだっけ？
Third? Wait, quarter? Third generation?
うん。おじいちゃんがドイツ人。会ったことないけど。
Oh. I would have never known. Because no one has fucking black hair like all Japanese people do. That's not racist. It's a genetic thing. I'm Asian. I have black hair. I've never seen another Asian with a different hair color unless they dyed it or if they were born with white hair. I've seen one person with white hair as an Asian. But I guess that was another genetic thing. Look, 99% of Asians have black hair. The other 1% are like weirdly shunned because of their white hair. Emerald nodded while munching on her sandwich. Wasn't the type to let her emotions show through, but maybe she was feeling a bit of righteous indignation herself?
ちょっと、
んだよ。
何かフォローしなさいよ。日本人がアホみたいに言われてるじゃない。
え
いや、だって俺も同感だし。
Adults might have had their own set of problems to deal with, but sometimes you just had to call a spade a spade.
だいたいここ以外ものんきすぎ。コンビニとか深夜営業のお店とか普通に開いてるし。危機感なさすぎだよ。そう思わない？
What's with the zoom in?
さあ、どうでしょうね。警察頑張ってるみたいですけど。
Just the police. The whole town's like, meh. What were they supposed to do? Declare martial law? It wasn't like terrorists were prowling around. That even have been legal. Maybe it was just me being ignorant, but stuff like this made you realize how great a country Japan could be.
藤井くん、聞いてる？
一応。
じゃあどう思う？ちゃんと答えて。
On what?
おおむね同感なんですけどね。
That Japanese are ignorant? I was seriously uncomfortable with answering that while Consumi was glaring daggers at me from the opposite side.
おい。
何よ。
文句あるならお前が言えよ。俺パスな。
ずるいよ。
どっちが？
何話してるの？
いや、別に。
No fun being leaned in on both sides at once. Nope. All I wanted to do was eat my lunch in peace. I couldn't handle a close-up of two hysterical women. I leaned backward, but...
だからね、日本人は平和ボケしすぎだと思わない？
What is she trying to say? Emerald just kept moving in.
ほら、ちゃんと言い返して。
Oh boy. As did Kasumi. And only leaned back even further.
ねえ、何をこそこそ言ってるの？なんでもないです。ね、レン。
Both of them just kept moving in. And I just kept moving and leaning further and further back. I'm gonna fall off. And then I heard it. An unpleasant creaking.
さ。
何？
受け身取ろうな。
We're all gonna fall.
は？
I'd almost rather not explain, but you see, the bench we were sitting on was not affixed to the ground. So if one were to lean up back on it, like I had been, it was only natural that the entire damn thing would tip over.
痛い。でも、ちょっと幸せ。
Excuse me?
あんた何どさくさ紛れに抱きついてんですか？
Aww, Ray.
腕枕。ちょっと先
もう、お前うるさいよ。
That's a player. Damn, she was loud. I looked up at the sky, hoping to find some sort of solace. It's a pretty day. Just like today.
輩、そろそろ5次元目が始まるね。
Bell signifying the end of lunch break rang shortly afterwards. Faculty had decided to actually hold afternoon classes. It probably would have been bad if I didn't go.
授業が終わったら、綾瀬さんは今日もこれ。
Well, mimed holding a bamboo sword.
そうですね。休校しないんだったら、私の日課を奪う権利なんかないですよ。
Something bad's gonna happen.
ほどほどにした方がいいと私は思うんだけど。で、藤井くんも付き合うの？
Wink!
当然。
Wait. The seems my feelings on the matter were irrelevant.
あんまり遅くなるのは勘弁だぞ。
A nap.
素振りくらいにしとくから。なんだったらレアさんも付き合います？私はいい。夜道は怖いし。
But she's smart.
それに今日はお客が来る日だから早く帰らないといけないの。
Oh.
お客？教会にですか？
うん。じゃあね。
Himuro made her leave on that note. Sumi and I turned to look at each other.
教室戻るか。
そうだね。
So here I was looking at 2 more hours of classes for the day. On top of that, I had to stick around for this kendo freaks practice afterwards. What a day this would be.
お世話になりました。
After school, Sumi did practice swings until she was drenched with sweat. No mean feat, given the temperature. As she left, she made sure to give her thanks to the dojo as usual. I couldn't help but be impressed that she could keep this routine up day after day.
お前飽きたりしないわけ？
飽きないよ。楽しいもん。
Huh. Shrugging, I handed her a chilled canned coffee.
ありがとう。
Just so you know, I wasn't trying to harass her or anything. Who are you talking about? Who are you talking to? Is Ren talking to me? Just so you know, I wasn't trying to harass her or anything. Kasumi was absolutely incapable of consuming anything hot, even during the winter months. I was just having hot tea myself.
でも暗くなる前にやめてくれて助かったよ。そろそろ教師連中に目つけられてるかもしれないし。
レン、そんなに真面目だっけ？
煩わしいのが嫌いなだけ。それに先輩も言ってたろ？生徒から犠牲者が出たら責任問題になるってな。
Watch me made the wrong decisions all this time and Kasumi dies.
お前と一緒に朝のニュースとか出たくないし、そのせいで学園長の一家が路頭に迷うのもなんか嫌だし。
I swear to Christ's manly bosoms that it will happen.
稽古もいいけど、これからは状況をわきまえてほどほどにしとけよな。
それは、そんなこと言われなくても分かってるけど。ただ、体動かしてた方が楽なのよ。嫌なこと考えなくて済むっていうか。
I get you. I did understand that line of thinking. I was here watching her for much the same reason. I was fine with the idea of doing something to take her mind off of things. It would just be an issue if that resulted in putting her in a dangerous situation. Of course, the idea of me trying to lecture Kasumi was a bit ridiculous.
とりあえず、さっきも言ったが、ほどほどにな。
Hodo. I ended up simply repeating what Himuro had said earlier.
帰ろうぜ。
The sun still hadn't set. It didn't qualify as nighttime just yet. I wasn't aware of any statistics saying that murderers only struck when it was dark out, but I felt a vague sense of unease just knowing that the sun was still up. Was this just because I was one of those complacent Japanese who had grown accustomed to the world without violence? Or did I have some reason to feel this way? Probably the latter. I know it sounds ridiculous, but I felt confident that there would be no murders as long as I wasn't dreaming. It's gonna happen. I found myself thinking that maybe I should just try not sleeping and see what happened. Here I was acting all unstable again. My thoughts kept heading in ridiculous directions. Kasumi was walking beside me. We were ostensibly having some sort of conversation, but I couldn't tell you for the life of me what we were actually saying. I just wasn't there. If Kasumi did end up getting killed, how would I react? Oh god, don't say that. Would I cry? Would I get angry? Would I seek revenge? Would I be able to accept her loss in the first place? We were talking about someone I had known since childhood, someone so close that we were More like siblings than anything. Would I be able to just write her off and move on with my life? No. No. Force myself to stop heading down that line of thought. Jesus. Line of thought. Thought. There was no point in worrying about Kasumi dying. Not even a serial killer would be able to take her out so easily. God, he's jinxing himself so hard right now. You're jinxing me right now! Stop it, Ren!
Huh?
Right as I